It's the same thing like parents have with babies, you know. Oh, I want my baby to be a doctor. And suddenly the baby turns out to be a beautiful artist and say, no, I don't want to go to medical school. I want to become an actor or an artist. Help, I lose control, right? So it's this control issue. Self-confident people are not afraid of giving up control because they are not under the illusion to have control to begin with. They accept life as it comes. And it's really more people who are insecure who want to maintain the sense of control.
Management of our fears is essentially a spiritual exercise that tames our ego and desire to control everything around us.
So for me, again, from a spiritual point of view, I mean, being spiritual, I think, is all about accepting and going with the flow of life and not trying to be so in control. And if you're willing to accept that, then I think you have a very good chance of accepting of all these technological and scientific development without feeling threatened. And I think when you accept them as an integral part of your life will be richer because you don't have to force yourself to reject them.
The fear of losing control of artificial intelligence is not new to our times and current technology. We have been aware of the potential problems for some time. The Victorian-era story of Frankenstein is a vivid example of the long history of this awareness. However, the answer to the problem again lies not in greater control, but in greater virtue of the human race. The central theme of Frankenstein is the rejection of an artificially made creature and its consequent failure to develop empathy and other beautiful aspects of humanity.
Because when you actually see what happens in the Frankenstein story, Victor Frankenstein builds this creature to overcome death. And the creature is absolutely hideous, right? So the creature comes to life and Frankenstein abandons him, never gives him a name, never assigns him personhood, rejects him. So the creature is on his own and tries to find contact, right? And every attempt to make contact, to find love, is rejected because he looks so hideous.
The premise underlying Dr. Forrest's assurance about AI is that human beings' self-centeredness and hatred will teach machines the same. The way to avoid this is to manifest something else: compassion, mercy, etc. A human being who is able to show kindness to the creature is able to teach him the same.
The only person who accepts him is the blind guy because he cannot see him and therefore doesn't buy into the value judgment. So why is the creature brutal? Because it has never experienced love. It has been rejected by society. Where in the world should any benevolence, any love for human beings come from when all what you experience is rejection?
Anne Forrest believes that in order to solve potential problems of an evil robot's domination, mankind needs to cultivate love. This love needs to not only extend to ourselves, but must be able to encompass everything that exists.
Because hate, rejection creates hate and rejection. And so when people ask me, but aren't you afraid that those creatures ever stand up against us? And I say, well, what really creates hatred? It's usually the people who hate have been hated first. You know, they have only learned hatred. So let us treat them with respect and give them dignity, and they will not reject us.
Dr. Forrest's answer to the controversies surrounding artificial intelligence research and engineering is to create a human environment that deeply reflects our spiritual values. Within this environment, any intelligent machine with the ability to learn would inevitably learn our values. She places our fears in the context of more fundamental states of resistance to playing God and the need to control outcomes. The solution, she says, lies not in our approach to AI research, but in changing our perspective and outlook.
One result of Dr. Forrest's perspective on how to address the controversies and fears surrounding AI is that she serves as a bridge between the religious and scientific communities. She not only eases the concerns of religious communities, but also helps the scientific community to remember values they may have forgotten. Her scientific background enables her to fully understand the challenges and areas of progress in modern life. Her background in theology makes it possible to put the lives, hopes, and fears of humankind into perspective.
Dr. Forrest's approach begins with the assertion that all people have an inherently religious impulse that causes them to search for meaning outside of clear observations. For Dr. Forrest, religion plays a very important role in our construction of meaning for our lives. That religious hunger is something that even people who don't believe feel.
I think that every human being is by nature religious, and what I mean by that is that every human being asks for meaning. We all want to have meaning in our life. We want to have purpose. We don't want to be just understand ourselves as the random reconstruction or recombination of genes of two people, an egg and a sperm, that randomly happen to meet each other, right? I mean, that's a horrible way to see it, yourself. And religion has always constructed those stories, those narratives that put human beings into a cosmological history and therefore gives us a place and gives us a reason and a purpose to be here. And I find that very powerful.
When she began working with the AI community, she met them with some surprise because they seemed to defy her claims that human beings are inherently religious. Yet, they created their own rituals and ways of searching for meaning outside of themselves.